Well, welcome back, my friends, all to another rousing rendition of Choir Boys Outdoors. Now, here's the deal. This is the Inflictor. It was designed by Frank over at What's the Point EDC. It was made by Bless Knives. I'm going to tag both of them in the title. I just did a full hard use review on this knife, and I'm going to do something that I don't ever do, but I feel like I need to start doing some, especially on knives like this. Now, what I want to do is just give you an overview. I want to give you the measurements. I want to talk a little bit about it and then move forward. I know that JR, who is a dear brother in the blade and as much a part of this channel as I am, has put in an order for one of these. Now, I had Frank pin a comment on the hard use video. I'm going to put the hard use video in the description. It is a little longer, but this is just one of those knives, man, that I absolutely adore. I got wrapped up in the review. I wanted to touch on a couple of things. One is, I want you to look at the handle. Now, I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you guys had a good day. It's just me and Megatron. The grandbabies are coming in Sunday. We had lunch with my mom and dad this past Sunday, so it's just kind of us. So I thought I'd take a few minutes and kind of walk you through this knife. I like this knife that much. I've been honing it up a little bit, and for those of you who always ask me, I usually keep something like this. It's one of those little, is it a DMT, kind of a diamond stone? I keep this, and I keep a Work Sharp field sharpener. Anything beyond that will go to like Michael Emler or DJ Horn. And the reason for that is twofold. One is time, and the second is I'm just not good with stones. I'm pretty good with honing things up. Timbo 437 redid the edge. He reviewed it, touched up the edge. He is an edge snob, and I say that with the utmost respect because very few get a knife as sharp as Timbo. So there wasn't a lot of honing to this. Donnie Bless made the knife, did a phenomenal job. And the truth is, the heat treat spot on, the design spot on. So I want to talk to you a couple things real quick. First thing is this. I made the comment during the review that somebody had said this knife reminded them of another knife. Now, I get those comments a lot, and it wasn't negative. It's not a negative thing. Guys, we live in a day and age where there's so many knives now. Every blade shape that's been made or is going to be made has been made. That's not a negative. And they weren't trying to be negative. What my point was with this knife is Frank took the design, stripped it down, bare bones, Bless pulled it off, and they came up with a phenomenal working knife. That's all I was saying. There's no cutesy bells and whistles. It's a straight cutting tool. The overall length is 7.5 inches. The blade length, I've got it about 3 1/8. That's what the tape's reading, and I'm going to this point here. Whether that's considered the true blade length, I don't know. It's what we're going to consider it. The top point here, 3 1/8. So your cutting edge is going to be the same, okay? It's going to be right at 3 1/8. So it gives you plenty of blade. Now, the inner grip on this knife, we're going to measure the inner grip from here to here. So down to here, from here to here is 3 1/8. But that's not the entire grip. This thing here is done masterfully on the pommel. Not only does it come kind of to a rounded point, so if you had to come down hard on something, you could, but it's also nice and rounded, so you can take your hand, if you got bigger hands, or you want to drop down on the knife, and you can wrap there. So if we go to this portion, that takes it from 3 1/8 to 3 7/8 is what I'm reading there. So there's plenty of space there. And see, even on my hand, I've got it here. That is the full inner grip, full length of the handle. I can come up here again, and we'll give you that measurement. If you come to that, and we'll do it like this. That's the smartest way to do it. If you come to there, at the bottom of this choil, that's 4 3/8. Any hand in the world is going to be able to do that, okay? So we've got plenty of handle purchase for the length. Now the width, or the thickness, however you want to say it, is right at 5/8. Well, we're looking at 3/4. So the thickness of the handle is 3/4 inches. The blade stock is right at 3/16. And that's pretty much how I basically measure all the knives. When I give you specs, that's how I do it. And it's not that I doubt what's written down. That's not the point. It helps me during the review in my head. When I physically pull specs, it helps me to quantify it, if you will. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Frank's comment from the main video, copy and paste it, and pin it to this video. That'll give you the steel type. It'll give you the handle material, etc. One thing I like a lot is this little bit of jimping. I'm not a huge jimping fan. It doesn't, for me, I don't want jimping up here. I like jimping right there because that's where I'm going to push, right? So for me, I don't need it all the way up. And personal preference, period. I like the aesthetic. If anything, I would say, from here to here, maybe. But I like what he did with the jimping. I like when you turn the knife like this, you can lock it in, right? I want to be careful there. Whatever I'm going to be doing with the knife, it's going to stay in my hand. I like that. I like that it fills up the hand. The thin behind the edge. Let's talk about the edge for a few. And this isn't going to be a long video. Like I said, this is more of a follow-up if you want to see how it performed, which was very good, very well. I'll pin the link. The edge is thin, it's slicey. I did some very, very light batoning. I would not baton with this knife. It comes with a Kydex sheath, leather straps if you wanted to carry it scout carry around camp, or you could take these off, and even like in a camp setting, you could make a neck knife out of it. Now, I don't like walking through the woods with it. I'm not a big neck knife guy, but I wouldn't walk through the woods with it. That way I'd carry it scout. But around camp, around the fire, you could hang it or do what I do, take the leather off and stick it in your pocket. The edge, let's get back to that. I prefer a thin and slicey edge. I always have, I always will. For videos and stuff, when you go to beat the shit out of something, it's always good to have a thick behind the edge, one that can really take it for clicks and views. Real life stuff, I like to have it thin, I like to have it slicey. Now, this is 1 inch diameter, inner diameter, sandblast hose. Now, what we're doing is we're just going to go around like this all the way, and just so y'all can see it's cutting. And typically with this stuff, I do have to cut it. Now, when we get to this thick shit like this at work, I don't have to cut it near as much because it holds up. I also want to be careful here too for a couple of reasons there. Once it sinks in, and we can go just like that. But here's what I like about that. And I'll continue to hone it up. I want to send it back the way it was sent to me. But to give you a good idea how thick that shit is, just like that. The thing I wanted to show you there is the pushing it down. Okay, so when I push it down, I don't have any hot spots. I don't have anything like that. It's nice, it's rounded. Everything's contoured. This is a user's knife. It's user friendly. Again, you don't have any kind of weirdo, people trying to sharpen shit that shouldn't be sharpened. Your little bit of a choil right there, that point right back here is rounded, so it's not going to poke you. You don't have any weirdo sharpening that you have to be careful of. I did not check that you could probably strike a ferro rod off of this if you wanted to, if you needed to. I didn't check that. The spine, while it's not rounded, it's not a hardcore 90, so it's very comfortable. Overall, the overall execution of this knife is amazing. I'll say that. I like this knife a lot. Let's just see. And again, see like right here, push down, boom. Let's do one more. Overall, fit, finish, design. If I'm giving it a hardcore number, I'd go with about an 8 out of 10, which is high on the scale. I'd even go as far as a 9. I like the knife that much. 10 in my scope, just so you know, is pretty much unattainable. Everything about this knife was very, very well executed, very well thought out, and very well done. And what else could you ask from a knife? I mean, seriously. Frank asked for input. I told him what I thought. I think he's got a winner. I just do from a user's standpoint. I like the materials they use, but I like that I can work the knife, hold the knife, feel the knife, grip the knife. My hand's not going to get sore from doing it. I'm not going to beat myself up doing it. If I need to stab something, I've got a platform here that I can do that. I can lock in. And again, we don't do psycho stabs. Somebody asked me about that. Well, it's not really if you were fighting. I'm not going to fight anybody with a knife. Not at 53 years old, okay? I've been jugged a couple times in the leg, and I can tell you never at any point during any fight I've ever been in my life, even in some serious situations, was I worried about stabbing somebody. If it gets to that point, and I want to make this point here, because I've actually been in real life, not high school fights, real life fights. I got a bullet hole in this leg. If I get in that point where I feel like I need a knife or a gun or something, I'm not worried about how I stab at that point. Does that make sense? But for camping or for around the house, for working, for doing whatever, jugging something, I'm not going psycho with it, okay? That whole discussion kind of irritates the shit out of me, but if you can't tell. But I'm not going to do a psycho stab. And really, even if I came up like that, I've still got a good platform to hold on to. But for what I'm going to use it for, just... That's about, there's no slip, there's no drop, there's no groove. The more you push and squeeze on that handle, the better bite it gets. Overall, like I said, I'd give it a solid 8 or 9, with a 10 being unattainable. It's a great knife. Frank, good job. Mr. Bless, phenomenal job. Can't wait to see what Frank's offering up in the future. Y'all go check him out. What's the Point EDC? Go check out Timbo437. Have a Merry Christmas. I'm Scab. You're not. And I'm gone, son.